Finally, we're finally doing this for the second season. I believe you can hear some music on the background, right? I can because I don't have my headphones on, but if it's too distracting, let me know, okay? But anyway, welcome to the second season of this show. Some people asked me during this almost 6 months, hard to believe, when the new season would be on. People from all around the world, really, and I always said it's gonna come back at some point, and so here we are today, finally. So very happy that this is happening again. It took a long while, as I said, about 6 months, and a lot of things happened during these 6 months. But first of all, I want to see everyone here. Let me just try to see you guys. Hello. So we have the usual still. How you doing, guys? So we have Sabine, we have Jacob, we have Bradley, that I don't remember I don't think you were a usual on the first season, so welcome, Bradley. CG Master, I believe I saw you before. You're new, so welcome. Marco Meyer, one of the usuals as well, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm just reading a message from my brother here, so that's why I'm laughing. So I'm assuming that he's also watching. I'm not sure. So welcome everybody. Really happy that this is this is a comeback, a real comeback after all these months, and so many things happen during all this time. Really, 6 months, hard to believe. So the last session, I don't remember exactly when. Oh, look, Thor is on. Cool. All right, some of these people are actually not only usuals or the usual suspects watching the show, but they're also part of one of the classes of next level. So welcome everyone. It's been a while. So as I was saying, a lot of things happen actually. So there's a lot of things to go through, so I'll try to be quick, okay? Because there's so many things. 6 months, so go figure, right? So what happened? So first of all, season 2 is on, as I said, and let's talk very briefly about what to expect this season. So we're gonna follow more or less the same structure, really. No major differences in here. But one of the big differences is the fact that every week it's gonna be there's gonna be content online for you to check out. So the music is a bit too loud, yeah? So I'm gonna put it down a bit. Better? So as I was saying, so the big difference I would say is like every week there's gonna be content, and this is gonna be done in 2 ways. So every 2 weeks it's gonna be the live show as we know it, with all the segments that we know. So every 2 weeks that's gonna happen instead of every week as before. But this season, every week there's gonna be one of the old tech corners being uploaded or made available to you on a specific playlist. So you don't have to watch the whole show or search for it on each episode. So there's going to be a dedicated playlist just for the tech corners, so it's going to be easy for everyone to search for the content that they want, or the techniques that they want to revisit or see for the first time. Because one of the ideas this season is to grow more, so subscribe, tell your friends all about this show. We've been really blessed about all the response. It's been amazing, so we couldn't help for more, but yeah, I think we can help more people with the content that we are providing. I believe that's at least my intention. Okay, so live shows, just to sum up, live shows every 2 weeks, and content every week, including the one the one in which we're gonna have the live show. Okay. Hello, Alex. Alex, an old pal as well from the Next Level program as well. So welcome. And so that's it for the live show. Okay. Speaking of Next Level, so the last, this is, you know, everything new, right? So this is one of the things that happened during the 6 months since the last time we spoke with each other. So the Next Level program has been an amazing adventure, really. Amazing feedback, couldn't ask for more, and we're really very really grateful about everything that is happening. We're glad that we made this actually a reality during this crazy time, still crazy time, and it's very, you know, fulfilling to help everyone, you know, try to help everyone to get to the position that they really desire and deserve. So thank you everyone for all your feedback. It's been amazing. So yeah, so that's one of the things we actually, I say we, by the way, I say we because I'm not alone in this. My wife Monica, that some of you know because you've been in the program and I've been in touch with her. She's on the Next Level as the product manager, and so, you know, that's also part of the news. I'm not alone in this for sure. Never been. But actually, speaking of Monica, a couple of days ago, Monica launched or published her first children's book that you can take a look at. So the book is called Once Upon a Time There Was a Lemon. For those of you that have kids, especially during these times, I think it can be an interesting book to take a look at. Okay, this is kind of a shameless plug here, but there's this connection with the show. Okay. So in terms of the Next Level, again, we are running now at the moment our second class. You can secure actually from now your place on the third one, and that's why also because of all these things that's why the show took a little bit longer to come back, but here we are today. Anyway, you can secure your spot for the third installment of the third class of the program. All you have to do is to go to complairvfx.com and all the instructions will be there. I'm just doing this again because some of you have been in touch with me and or with Monica via email. So all you have to do is going to complairvfx.com and all the instructions will be there. Okay, so you can register from today, although, you know, the second class is still going. Okay, so it's been a while. It's gonna take around a couple of months or a little bit less than that for us to initiate the third one. Anyway, go there and all the instructions will be there. What happened also during these 6 months? We have a new version of our beloved software, Nuke 13. Big changes on this release, as you know. We have a machine learning toolset with Copycat, which in my opinion for now is more a curiosity, although with some more serious applications, but more a curiosity than anything else. But I believe that this is the beginning of something much bigger about to happen in a lot of industries, and I said this previously, in a lot of industries and in ours as well. VFX obviously is not exception to that. So this release marks the implementation of also the Python 3, which again, I think this will take a while for studios to implement it fully, but it would be great to hear for some of you if you're already in your places of work already implementing Python 3. It's not that Python 3 is new, it's actually the release date or year was 2008, so it's not new at all. And obviously, you know, only now the softwares, and Nuke is not the only one, but softwares are now implementing you know, Python 3 in their pipelines, but I think this will take a while still. So very new, interesting things about to happen, but I think it will take a while to be fully implemented, these two things, but we'll see. It would be great to hear what you guys have to say about this. Now, a lot to talk about on the pandemic update as usual. Let's see. So since the last time we spoke, we didn't have vaccines. Now we have vaccines, and it's been an unbelievable effort worldwide, really, in such a short period of time. I think this is unseen, actually, at least for the last 100 years or so. Well, probably ever. In terms of like this big effort worldwide to roll out the vaccines in so many countries all around the world. Unfortunately, not in every single continent, not in every single country, but in any case, it's a big effort worldwide, because obviously this is affecting everybody. I think that's exactly the reason. So UK and US on this front, I believe they have around 50% of the whole population fully vaccinated, against around 20% in Europe, and the rest of the world, as I said, it's below this, unfortunately, at the moment. So hopefully these figures will go up soon. So yeah, not great for every single country, as I said, but it's been an amazing effort nevertheless. So speaking of US, we also have a new president, very a very big thing, obviously, and I don't think this happened before, well, the last time we spoke about, but as you know, there's a new president in the US, and actually the United States, I read yesterday, donated 500 million doses of Pfizer's vaccine for the rest of the world, which is obviously a good thing. What else? Pandemic-wise, there are conversations around around the fact that people, it's always a risk to travel. So I think there's conversations, according to what I read yesterday, about implementing a vaccine passport. So what happened? We'll see what happens here. But traveling to some countries, it's been a bit difficult, I have to say. For example, if you want to travel to the UK, you have to have, well, now things change again, which is again part of this whole situation being a bit difficult to manage, but you have to have a test before you fly. You have to book a test also before you fly, but once you arrive there. Once you arrive there, you have to, and the good thing is you can do it yourself, and you send the sample, and everything is working really well over there in terms of like the post services and all that stuff. So there's that advantage, but nevertheless, it's expensive. But to start off, we're talking about £100 more or less each vaccine in average. Can be a little bit more or less, but you have to have these two vaccines before you fly out there, and then from there you have to have another vaccine to fly back. And this actually changed. For example, Portugal was in the green list, as a lot of you know, and now it's not. So this means that instead of having to book one vaccine as soon as you arrive in the UK, you have to book two. Okay, and there's another color which is red, and I believe you have to go to an hotel to do quarantine. So it's kind of a nightmare, and I think these travel restrictions will go up and down. And unfortunately, I think also the reason why this is happening is because the third wave, according to the reports, are coming again. Another wave, basically, the third wave in the UK. The numbers don't lie. I think Boris Johnson said something along these lines. Actually, the numbers don't lie, or he said something like, we all see the numbers going up. So not a good thing. So it's better to be prepared and not to be surprised by this. But I believe that at this point nobody's surprised about what's happening. But anyway, I think it's a third wave is expected, unfortunately. Okay, not good news on this front, but it is what it is, I guess. What else? This is kind of a side thing, but an important deal was reached worldwide, and this was reached in London couple of days ago or last week. So basically, it has been agreed that all nations will have to contribute with at least 15%, if I'm not mistaken, with corporation tax. And of course, this will have a huge impact on companies like Google, Amazon, Apple, and stuff like that, because they were a little bit off the hook in terms of like paying these taxes. So I think this might be a good thing for the economic recovery of worldwide, in terms of like all the support that different countries had to inject money-wise to the economy regarding what's happening in the pandemic. So I don't think actually this timing is by chance, like the fact that they're not only agreeing to this, but the fact that they are agreeing to this at this moment. So an important thing here, and it's also obviously something new, Brexit, it's almost in full force, although it's not like 100% there, but talking about maybe 80 or something, 80%. And conversations still are, and negotiations with the EU still continue. And I think I read yesterday that it seems like the negotiations still are still going on, and they went sour a few days ago again, and it seems like the problem is again the trade with Northern Ireland. I'm not sure exactly what this is or what that entails, but in any case, yeah, we're still there. So a lot of things happen, but we still have this problem going on apparently. Okay, so technical highlight of the week. I selected, because I just talked about the new version, new nuke version that includes a machine learning module with Copycat, and there's actually a Foundry talk that happened maybe the beginning of this week or something. It's called Copycat in the Wild, I believe, and it's pretty interesting, and it gives you a more complete picture of some of the more practical things. I said that at the moment I believe it's more a curiosity with some practical applications, don't get me wrong, but there's some limitations there that I think it's like everything. It's the beginning of something very big. But in any case, this talk is very interesting because might give you ideas about what more practical things you can do with it already. So our past guest Maz obviously is there, and actually I believe that one of the plates that he's using to demonstrate one of the examples is the plate that the video that he recorded for the Christmas message last time we had this show. But in any case, thank you, Maz, if you are watching this, whether it's live or not live. Thank you for doing that once again, and thank you for coming in the show. Very interesting, and this talk is also very interesting. So I'll be putting, as usual, the link in the description after the talk. Okay, and just to finish off, because today is the comeback of the show, we will try to do a giveaway. Okay, we'll see how this goes. One of the things, by the way, that you should expect, because it's also part of the show, why not, is technical problems, right? This has been something that has been with us from the beginning, pretty much. I don't think we can have a lot of those, knock on wood, as much at least. Have a new machine and all that stuff. So we'll see. But you never know. Okay, it's a live show, so things can happen for sure. But in any case, welcome everybody, and it's time for the usual, right? Which is the Tech Corner. So today we're going to talk about, as you will see, we're going to talk about the expression node in a way that it's always a technical thing, right? But we're going to use the expression nodes to accomplish some of the more practical things that in terms of visuals that we can do with it. Okay, so let's see if everything is ready. I believe it is, and obviously after we're gonna have like another chat, and we're gonna have our guest. Okay, today it's gonna be a very, very good one, I promise you. All right, so let's see if everything's fine. Everything seems okay, so let's do it, guys. See you in 2 seconds, and I hope you like it. Bye bye. So today we're going to talk about the expression node. It can be very useful and powerful in some situations. And today we're going to explore some of the more practical approaches to it without getting too deep into the syntax of things. And to support today's session, we're going to go to that article, not the part that I wrote on, but to the part that Matt wrote, which has to do with some useful mathematical expressions to do some practical things, and that's exactly what we're going to explore. So the article that I'm talking about is this one here that is very easy to find on Wikipedia. It's called Expression 101, and as you can see, it was written by Matt Stella and me, but the part that we're going to talk about is the part that was originally written by Matt. So if you go down here, there's a few useful things that you can read about on how to get to certain effects like this, but what I would like to explore with you today is this effect to start with. Okay, I'm not going to get into how you get here and why you get here. You can do that on your own by reading every step of the way that Matt did a great job on. But instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just grab the final expression for us to get this type of effect. So I just copied it, and then I'm going to go to nuke, and I'm going to drop it in straight like that on the red channel. So what we see here is we have some mathematical notation here, hypotenuse and sine, and then we have the x and y, but we also have two unknowns, which are the center and the size. So for the center, as you can see, we have X and Y, so we have to create this variable in X and Y, and we're going to take a look at that just next. And the size is also a variable that we have to take into account, but this one here doesn't depend on X and Y, so we can create this as a floating point slider. So let's go to the center first. So let's just copy the same name that we have in here, and then we're going to go to manage user knob, and you can add this as a 2D position knob because we have to have both X and Y independently. So we're just going to drop that variable there, and now we're going to go with the size. Let's copy it and let's create another one, but this time we're going to use a floating point slider because there's no dependency between X and Y in the same way that we had with the previous one. Let's ignore the limits for now. We'll change this later. And as soon as you do something with these knobs, if I now go here, for example, and increase the size, here's what we have. We have this that can be very useful for us in certain situations. So let's increase the size past the limits that we have available to us until we get something like this. So this is starting to look something that can actually be useful. But the thing is, it's cool to have the control on the size as we just picked it now, but it will be also beneficial to have a different type of control that is not in the expression yet, which is an offset, in order for us to have the same size, the location in which we want, but we want this to move inwards or outwards, right? So we have to add another one that is not, as I said, in the expression. And the place in which you're going to add this is going to be after the sign, because the sign is the one that is going to give you this effect primarily. So we want this whole thing to be affected by this offset that we're going to create now. So let's really call it offset like this, and we're going to plus that to whatever we have there. So if I copy this one here and now create the offset as a floating point slider, because once again, this is not dependent on any axis, so we can just create it like this. Okay, and as soon as we start doing things, you see that now we have this control. So this will be an expression to have on our side with this addition that was not contemplated on the original expression. Let's go to the article and find another one that's going to be very useful. So if you go down, we get this stuff in here that is very cool. So let's copy this. Once again, I'm not going to get into how you get to this point because you can read this on your own. Let's just copy this part here and let's put that on now a different channel. Let's put this on the green channel. And as you can see, all these variables, they are called the same. We even have the offset here. Okay. So what this means is once we enter this, this is what we have. So we have now these two expressions, and the offset will also control both of them, like this. So now it's time for us probably to change the limits in which we have these things, because at the moment this is too short. So let's go to the size and maybe select from 1 to, I don't know, 50. And this other one, the offset, can be probably from 0 to 10. You can see that now we have these things behaving as you would expect and looks kind of trippy. But we're not over yet because we have another one that we should put, which lives right at the beginning. So this one here. So let's copy this and let's put this on the blue channel. So now we have the blue channel also with something in it, which is this stuff in here. But unlike the other ones, this one here, the one that we just pasted in, we don't have the same variables as before because this expression, the way I copied it, has some hard-coded values, and this is not what we want. So we want to also use the same variables, namely the size and the offset, because the center in this one doesn't really matter. So let's go to the offset and let's put the offset right after here. Let's put this offset plus something, and then this guy here is going to be the size. So we're going to just do this and then delete that, put another one there, and that's it. So now we have the size and the offset in the same way that we had the others, and that's it. So you know, looking at this looks really trippy, and you may wonder, well, why do I need this? Well, there's actually a lot of cases in which you can use this stuff for creative purposes. Let's not forget that we have at our disposal the position, okay, the center of this guy. We have the size of every single one of these patterns. We have the offset that changes the position. And for example, one thing that we can do, for example, with the offset is to parent the offset with a frame statement, so this will change automatically over time. So let's take a look at one of the things that we can do. For example, I have this plane in here, and this is just a quick image, not a very beautiful one, by the way, but it's just the one that I found on the internet to illustrate what I'm about to show you, which is we can fake the distortion and give a little bit more life to something like this propeller. So for example, what we can do is we can shuffle this guy here, for example, the green, and if we have this green, we can either put this directly into the picture with a corner pin, or we can put this as a card, and if we do so, we are on the 3D space, so have full flexibility on how we want to apply these things. But let's say that I want to put this as a corner pin first, so I want to match basically the position. So let's do this very quickly, something like this, but at the moment this is not moving. So we have to put the offset parented to a frame, and maybe we can have this parented to either another variable that we can use as a speed, but at the moment I'm just going to multiply this by, I don't know, 5 or something like that, and then we can change that to whatever we want. But you see that now this is moving like that, and you can put this moving as quicker or as slower as you want. It's up to you, it's you controlling it, and as you will see at the end, we're going to have like a master control in this example that you'll be able to tweak all of these things that we're about to talk about. So at the moment, the thing that is not working for me is the fact that we see the limits of our picture that we are putting on top of this one. So what we can do is we can just use a radial, so we can have this more at the center, okay, something like that. So now we don't see the limits in the same way. Let's not forget, we still have the ability of changing this still, okay? This is not going anywhere. And now we can do whatever. We can, it's up to your imagination. I'm going to show you the final output of what I did very quickly, just to illustrate what the sort of things that you can do with this one. So very quickly, I was able to do this, in just a few minutes. Could be better, of course. It's not my intention to show you the most refined kind of a look. It's just to tell you that, this is one of the things that you can do with that sort of expressions. And in this one here, I actually had like a master control in which as I said before, I'm able to control both the speed. I also put, coming from the same source, heat distortion, radial distortion and rotational distortion, and an overall mix. So let me show you very quickly what I have in here. So this is the picture. What I ended up doing was creating a noise here just to put some blur beforehand. Then I use the same thing to create some heat distortion. Again, I'm going to put this back to 1 so you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So this is the heat distortion coming from the same source, as I said. And then what I end up doing was using both of them, the green and the red channel, applied like this, and then I'm going to use them as vectors to distort things in different ways. So I'm going to distort this like that, okay? So I have both of them, and then at the end what I ended up doing was to just take some of the blades and put them on the top, so we'll fake that kind of rotational feeling. And then every single thing that I just showed you is linked to this propeller effects. This could be, for example, a setup that you do for your teams if you happen to lead teams, and you'll be rest assured that people are using this, and it's very easy to control because they only have like a few knobs available to them. But as you can see, this is one of the examples. Let me show you other examples. With this expression, you can create like very trippy kind of effects that you can use them to whatever. It can be a magical effect. It's up to you, really. In this one here, I end up like just doing this stuff to create some sort of weird moire effect. So, this is one of the applications as well that you can use. And it's really up to you how much or how far you want to take this expression. It's really up to you. There's no right or wrong. It's whatever you feel it's working best for you. In this one, I end up using this type of stuff, and this can be very, very trippy also if you try or end up tweaking the size as well like this, and you can parent the size to whatever. So you can see that this can be very trippy as well, and there's a ton of things that you can do with it. It's up to your imagination, as I said. Another thing you can do with this is this rippling effect that you can also associate with distorting a nasty map instead of the final image beforehand. So this will give you a little bit more control, and this is what I end up doing here. So what I end up doing here is I have this one as a static one, and then I have another one that it's moving.
and a little bit smaller, and it's moving over time, and this one happens to be distorting the fixed one. So, you can play with things like this and you end up with this type of effect that looks, kind of organic, and you can then blur the vectors that you're about to export. And in this case, instead of distorting the image directly, I end up distorting the SD map beforehand, and then I'm applying the effect as an SD map. So this will be my SD map in which I'm going to apply things, and doing things on an SD map, as we saw before, gives more control. So the image looks like this, and with that we end up doing this. So it's another application for that kind of stuff. Apart from a 2D effect as a water rippling effect, you can also use this actually to create displacement maps in the same kind of a way. So if I have this part of the expression, the red bit, I can then do the same thing, which is just masking, the ends off if we want. At least we have that control, okay? And then you can use this as, a displacement map to displace your geo, whatever that might be. And then you can have this type of, very organic kind of a feeling that you will see in just a second. That can be the base to drive, for example, shock waves, or to drive water rippling or something like that in 3D instead of 2D. It's, again, up to you, but as you can see, this looks very organic and takes no time at all. You see the amount of those that we have in here? It's very minimal. So this is one of the other applications that I would like to show you. Another one based on the same concept is to create, for example, a flag. In this case, we're going to use the other part of the expression, which is this part in here. Okay, so we have the blue channel that contains this, and in this case, for the flag, I know that the end bits of the flag, they move faster in comparison with the ones where we have the pole. So I end up using an SD map to exactly change the original shape of this guy to become something like this. And now I have, things moving like this, but I know that the end bit will move slightly different in comparison with the one where the pole should be if this were to be a flag. So additional to this, I'm gonna distort this so I just break the perfection of the lines, because we know that nothing in nature is that perfect. So I end up making this part completely black, so I don't have any movement, and then I'm going to use this as my displacement map for something that I can use as a 3D flag. So if I look at my 3D system, this is exactly what I have. So, very simply, with just a couple of nodes, I'm able to do something that otherwise probably would take me more time. So again, all coming primarily from those three expressions only, and then you decide which one or which ones you want to use. So let's take a look at another example. So another one that you probably thought of immediately, it was probably the first one that you thought about. It's the one that has to do with this type of radar kind of a thing. Old school James Bond kind of movies in which you have this type of stuff. So again, all coming from that same expression, just making it a little bit smaller with just a grade. So I take some of the cement areas so I can open more gaps between them, but it's really up to you the type of control that you want to do that. The final example that I would like to show you, because the imagination is your limit really, so I'm trying to come up with as many different examples as I could, but the imagination is really your limit. But I thought to end with this one because I've used this type of technique in movies that we all know. And in this case, it was to create a thruster that I'm not trying to defend the end look of this, but it's just to tell you that you can create this sort of effect for thrusters as well. I did this very quickly, but you can use that kind of stuff to create this type of, sci-fi looking kind of thrusters, and you can add as many effects or variations of the effect as possible. In this case, the base for it is the same thing as I told you before. You can distort things. In this case, I'm using my distortion to distort things in a slightly different way, which comes from this node that I created, which goes outside the scope of what I'm trying to tell you now. But it's just to tell you that, I'm using this tool to distort things in whatever way that this gives me, coming again from the same expression. So it's all the same thing, and by the end you end up with the look that you are trying to pursue. But the more you look at this kind of stuff, the more things you will think on applying this. But as you can see, expressions can be used to achieve very interesting and quick effects, creatively speaking. So it's not only for technical purposes, and this is what I would like to show you today. Hope you liked it, and see you next time.
Hello again. How was it, guys? Did you like it? I hope so. So very simple. expressions. A lot of people associate that with, well, too many technical things going on. I don't know how to interpret them, which can be, of course, one of the cases. But there's very, many resources out there, and start, step by step to build your knowledge like that, instead of like going, try to ingest everything at the same time, But a lot of people, as I said, associate expressions with just technical part, the technical things that we can do with expressions, but there's actually a lot of applications on the look side of things that we can use them for, and this is exactly what I wanted to show you today. Just a few examples. There's so many more. It's whatever you think about them. The more you do it, the more you play with them, as I said at the end, the more you will remember on, this will be interesting to apply this in this case. I've used this in many different ways, in many different projects over the years, so I'm sure you will too. Okay, so it's now time for our guest. Let's see if everything's fine on this front. Let me just, okay, you can, Mr. or Mrs. Guest, you can switch on your camera. Okay, all good. Okay, so today's going to be a very, very good one. Okay, as usual, by the way. Okay, of course I'm suspect to say, but today it's a very special one. So let's do it now, and we'll see what I'm talking about. Hello, Debbie. Hey, Debbie Coleman. How you doing, Debbie? Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much. Of course, yeah, my pleasure, my pleasure. Let me just see if everything's fine on my end here, because I just received a few messages here saying that there was a glitch. I hope everything's fine on my end. Everything seems fine. But as I was saying, hello, Debbie, once again. Thank you for coming in. We actually we can disclose this now, because this was supposed to happen a couple of weeks ago, but again, as I said before, there were some technical issues, and because of that, we had to do this today. So today is also a very good day, I would say. So
yeah,
it's a good day. It's always a good day. So yeah, thank you, Debbie, for coming in. Actually, this reminds me that yesterday you had like an event also. You were involved at another event, Animated Women UK, right?
Yeah. It was their 5th birthday party,
Okay.
Zoom party. Things are a bit more tame at the moment, but yeah,
Everything is with Zoom these days, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But we didn't present yourself actually. Well, people can see the label obviously, but Debbie was until very recently, and we're going to talk about that as well, Debbie, the head of compositing, global head of compositing at DNEG. And Debbie took the courageous step of doing something different, right? And we're gonna talk about that. But yeah, so for those, some people probably know you. Some people that we have here on the show know you, maybe worked with you. People were saying that they couldn't hear you, but now you can, right, guys? Please let me know if everything's fine. But I think everything's fine now. Okay. Yeah, so you were saying that yesterday you had like what like it was an anniversary, you say,
for Animated Women UK. Yeah, the 5-year anniversary.
Yeah, I think I remember the first time I heard about it. Was this a public event or?
It was for members and non-members. It was also the AGM. Yeah, but it was for members and non-members. It is women only, though.
What's that? Sorry?
It's women only.
Women only, yeah. And actually, for those of you that are not aware of what this is, do you want to expand a bit about what this group is and how important it is? Because I think it's very important, especially in this day and age, to talk about that side of things. Do you want to do that, Debbie?
Yeah, sure. And I should say I'm a member rather than, I'm not on the board. I'm not part of the organization, but it's for women in animation and visual effects. It's UK based, and it's really, as I often see happen, enough women in the industry got together and said, it's ridiculous how underrepresented women are in this industry, and we need to do what we can to make kids in school or at university know this is a really viable career option, an exciting career option. It's as open to women as men. Reach out to women as they join the industry. How can we support each other? So it's a support network, and with lots of action as well. I think the main action, I would say, is that they run a program called Achieve. So the Achieve program, they run it every year. It's relatively inexpensive for what it is, and if you're fortunate enough, maybe your employer would pay, which I was lucky enough to have happen when I wanted to go on it. And it's just about boosting women's confidence, thinking about how to present yourself as well as your work, and forming that network. So it's a great organization for women in the industry, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. That's why I wanted you to talk about it, because without a doubt that women, and one of the things that I didn't talk about in the beginning of the show, like in the intro part, was what I wanted to do different on this front as well. So we had women on last season, but I don't think women were in the same number. Well, they were not in the same number as we had men, for sure. I tried it very hard, but it seems like at least the women that I asked to come on the show, they were a little bit too shy, which is a shame. So I hope that this season, because it's now the second season, now people know what to expect. We're not brand new. I hope that this will change, and it's with great pleasure that we are opening the second season with you, of course, representing. And also the fact that you're involved in all these situations and others, as we're going to talk about, I think is very important, especially, but not only because of the pandemic. Of course, the pandemic boosted, it kind of put everything on steroids, right? So things would happen anyway. The difficulties they were already there anyway, but I think the pandemic, it was like a catalyst, for lack of a better word, regarding some of these issues, right? And without a doubt that women can face some more specific issues in comparison with men, like not issues, but it's just life happening, like right, like motherhood. I mean, men can't have kids, women have to, right? And they are more than entitled to do it. They shouldn't be affected in any way, shape, or form in any side of their lives. Professional side obviously included. So an organization like that one, I think it's hugely important. My question on this front is, since this is like the 5th anniversary, how did you see this changing over the years? Like the fact, like this relationship between women in work and motherhood, and you see what I'm saying? So how did you change this over the years? Because I think things are changing a bit. Is that enough? Maybe it's not, but maybe it's the beginning of something, right?
Yeah, I definitely think things are improving. Things have improved and are improving. And actually, I was on a panel discussion maybe 4 weeks ago, and it was really interesting to hear from different women in the industry of very different levels of experience. And everyone said actually things are improving. So that was everyone's different experience, was it is getting better. I think that's partly awareness, awareness that just awareness of how to make people feeling truly included, so that everyone feels that they're in a safe environment where they can be themselves and therefore they can contribute fully. I think in terms of balancing childcare responsibilities or caring responsibilities, all the household duties, which shouldn't fall they shouldn't fall exclusively to women.
Of course, yeah.
You look at studies though, and you look at surveys, women tend to pick up the majority of the running the household, whether it's the admin, whether it's the cleaning, whether it's the groceries, the food preparation, the looking after the children, the childcare. It's a lot. I would say things are improving. Like our generation is very different to our parents' generation and our grandparents' generation. But obviously the more that everyone, so all the guys, it's really about everyone needs to make this better. It's not for women to make it better. It's for men to
Obviously, yeah.
It's what more they can do to support women, so that we can be as involved as you, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, of course. I think also on that front, I think governance should change also some of the laws, because in terms of like once you have a kid, of course, mommy is entitled to. I'm not sure what's the time now. Is it 4 months or something? Well, it depends, right, at the moment. But the dad is like only 2 weeks. So that makes everything really imbalanced, like from the get-go, right? I know that in some countries there's the option, like you can take basically the same time between mom and dad, but from the get-go things start very imbalanced. So I think that is something that maybe should change as well, just to, we're all the same, mom and dad are the same. Yes, the needs are different, especially with little kids, with babies, but without a doubt that could change as well.
It is, I agree, absolutely. There are, as usual, there are some countries that are so much better in supporting women and families, and there are some countries that are worse, of course. That's another thing. It has improved. So since I've had children, it has improved in terms of how much maternity leave you get and what you're paid. And they have now introduced, or for some time now in the UK, we've had shared parental leave as well. So, a heterosexual couple are entitled to, and I would hope it's the same for gay couples, but I don't actually know. I would hope it is. I would think it must be. But as a father, you are entitled to also take parental leave, so to split that 12-month. But it's on like a basic state pay, a minimum pay for men and women, and often the fathers are earning more money. So therefore, as a family, it's a cost consideration, as well as is this right for us as a family? Does the mother want to return to work? Does the father want to look after the baby? But it's a cost consideration often as well.
And which is also something, sorry to interrupt, but on that front, it's also something that it's unbalanced, right? And unfortunately, it's for me, it's like beyond comprehension. I don't even know when this started, honestly. Like the fact that men are paid more than women. I don't see. I don't know, honestly. For me, it's like I'm baffled at that kind of situation, honestly. I don't know how to respond to that, rather than, I don't know. But a lot of stuff needs to be done on that front as well, which has to do with overall what we're talking about here overall, right? Because then, of course, the effectiveness consideration comes into play, but it shouldn't be always biased towards one of the sides, right? This should be distributed anyway. Speaking of this situation here, by the way, guys, if you have questions for Debbie, whatever the matter might be, we have a luxury of a guest today. So if you have questions, please type them, and then I'll read them as soon as I can. Okay. Otherwise, I'm going to continue my questions, because there's a lot of things that I would like to discuss with you, Debbie. One of the things that I was about to ask you, which has to do with everything that we're talking about here, is the fact that you changed careers, as I just said. So you're now a businesswoman after 15, 16 years at DNEG, and over maybe 20 years or more, right, in VFX. You decide, okay, we're living a pandemic, and this is exactly what I'm going to do, right? It's an opportunity, isn't it? Because I think it's something that it's very important for us to talk about, because without a doubt that this time is so crazy. But from the very, very beginning, and it's also part of why the show came to be a reality, was, why not do something different? The world is on pause mode, right? Pretty much. So this might be an opportunity for you to do something different, whatever that might be, right? But I would like to know, I'm talking about, obviously, open frame coaching, as the label says. So you're basically now a coach, right? A professional and a personal coach. And it takes a lot of courage to, after 15, 16 years and 20 years or more in the industry, to say, okay, I'm gonna be now my own. I'm gonna be the master of my destiny, right? For the better, for the worse, right? But at least it's something very exciting. It takes a lot of courage. So congrats on that. But do you want to talk about how that came to be a reality for you? Like, what was your thinking process behind this change?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Pedro. I think a big part of what made it happen at this time was COVID. Having said that, before we'd even heard of coronavirus, I had decided to commit to taking a coaching course. So this is something I funded myself, and I was doing, around my day job. And I think
I remember that, by the way.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think we've been working together then. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's right. It's like spending my weekends on a course. Yeah, I think I was ready for a new challenge in my career anyway. I'd been at DNEG, 16 years. I'd been in VFX 25 years.
25, more than I said then.
New challenge. And it didn't necessarily have to be outside of visual effects. There's still a lot about it that I love. But I kind of realized over the years, I think the reason I've been successful as a manager is because I've always been interested in investing in people's career development. I love people, I love understanding them, I want to support them, and I want to see them flourish. And I started thinking, how can I do that in a different way? So I thought I'd take the coaching course. I'll probably enjoy it. Who knows?
It'll make right?
Job. Maybe it's something I could do. And then you throw in a global pandemic, and the big change there, especially for coaching, was suddenly I'm coaching everyone over Zoom. And that actually opened up the possibilities, because when I started my training, it's like, okay, who is within a 45-minute commute of where I live in London so that I could go meet them after work, coach them, come home. Suddenly I can coach anyone, anywhere, and about half my clients are in Canada or America. And I've always loved that international nature of our industry. So it's great to be part of that. So I think COVID happened. I was coaching over Zoom. And then I just thought, I think it's also getting older. I'm getting older. I'm getting closer to 50. I'm not there yet, but I'm getting closer to 50. And you just start thinking, you've got one life, do what you enjoy, give it a go. What's the worst that can happen? So it was a big decision. But at some point I just thought, I've got to just try this. I've got to try it. I don't know what it will lead to, but I need to give it my best shot and see, and I'll learn. So if I try, I'll learn something, even if I learn that actually I can't run a business.
I can relate to that completely, because I didn't know. Well, first of all, this show, I don't know if, I call it show. You guys can call it whatever, but I never saw myself doing this ever in my life. If you tell me like a couple of years ago, this is what's going to happen, I would say no, because I don't like that space. I don't consume that kind of thing, so I'm not going to be there. And I decided to give it a go to see what would happen. People over the years told me that you have a different way of putting things, and as a manager you have something different as well. As a supervisor, you see management side of things, for example, a little bit different. On the technique side of things, a little bit different as well. Maybe because I came from a different background as well, and it's something that I would like to talk to you about, because I think that's lacking in our industry, VFX. Well, I'm still putting you in the industry because you deal with a lot of people in the industry, right? It's to be open to the possibility of whatever might come your way, and then you take the opportunity. But I think the best, and I think I said this before, the best things that happened to me, and this is easier said than done, but this is true when I reflect back, is if you don't expect too much or too many things out of something, that's when things actually start to happen. If you like grinding all the way, every time, every minute, you don't, for some reason, I don't understand the explanation or the logic behind it, but reflecting back, this is exactly what happened. If you're forcing too much, things tend not to happen. If you don't expect anything out of it, things tend to happen much more and in a much bigger scale. I don't know. Do you have any explanation for this? I don't.
I think it's partly about creating space for opportunity, because I think when we're really pushing, we're almost not allowing room for those kind of sideways moves to to even be presented to us, occur to us. I think it's sort of a mental, isn't it? Like being mentally open to and having space to try different things, maybe.
I think you're onto something. Yeah, I think it's like the breathing space of and being open to whatever can come your way. For example, supervision roles or senior roles or management roles, whatever they might be, whether it's in VFX or whatever. People tend to be fixated only on for example, in VFX, only on the technical side of things. Forgetting, for example, the human side of things, or forgetting the management side of things, because as a manager, you have to manage, right? You have to be very knowledgeable about what you do if you're doing a technical job, obviously, because people expect that kind of input and response from you. But people, I think, tend to be really fixated only. I'm not saying that it's not important, it's usually important, but only on that side of things, whether you have to be the best artist in your team or the most technical guy in the world in your team, and that's when you are considered or invited to be a supervisor or a manager, whatever it might be. And one of the things that I talk about very often on the program, on the Next Level program, is exactly that. Yes, I mean, without a doubt that, for example, on the technical pillar side of the program, it's very thorough, don't get me wrong, but it's not enough, it's not enough. It's very important, because one of the things that people tend to do, towards you as a supervisor, is you have to come up with questions, with answers all the time, because the questions happen every minute, whether it's on the technical side, whether it's on scheduling side, whether it's on you name it, right? And you cannot say I don't know, and yes, you can say I don't know now, give me 5 minutes, or tomorrow I'm gonna get back to you, but you have to be able to provide their answer. But it's not enough only to be looking at that side of things. So it would be actually great to hear your thoughts about that side of things from someone that, like you, that propose people to be supervisors or hired supervisors. For example, what are you? Do you agree with what I'm saying? First of all, and do you want to expand on that kind of thing?
Yeah. I think I definitely agree with what you're saying. And one of the things I like about the Lair program is that it's not just one thing. It's that balance. I think when you're looking at artists, you're looking for a balance of creative and technical. And of course, some people are technical wizards and they're needed. Some people are creative geniuses, they're needed. And then generally speaking, most of your compositors are a combination. Once you get to leading and supervising, you need those people management skills. And this isn't something that comes naturally to everyone. And even if it comes naturally, you still got to develop it. You've still got to learn and grow. It's essential, really. The best, if you think of, we can each think of the VFX supervisor we've most enjoyed working with, the one that we would drop everything to work with again, or the comp soup that you always want to be on their team. It's because of actually those soft skills as much as anything else.
Yeah,
So
I can't believe you're saying that, because I just said this last week to the current class. When you think about, and the previous one as well, when you think about your best supervisor, and some people that are watching this can attest to what I'm saying, because I actually said that. When you think about your best supervisor, or can be more than one, what are the kind of characteristics that comes to mind? It's not because he was a technical genius necessarily speaking. Maybe he was very knowledgeable, yes, okay, but that's not what comes to mind. It's how he or she dealt with the project, how stressful that project came to be because of this person, or how very relaxed actually it came to be, and what was the type of communication. Sometimes it's changing the angle of how you see things rather than here's the answer, you know what I mean? So for me, that's very, very important.
It's a big part of it is making everyone in the team feel valued. Because if you feel like, oh, that supervisor knows, they know me, they value me, they appreciate my input, and that is listening to people, giving a bit of time to people, building trust as well. All of those things. That's what makes the strongest teams. And then the strongest teams produce the best results, and they enjoy doing it. Yeah,
you said to me once, I think was about this last Oscar nomination, and actually winner tenet. I think you said something because we exchanged a message, and you said, when you build a great team, the rest is easy, right? And it's true, right?
That was my mantra as a head of department. I'm like, as long as I've got, it takes time and it takes constant effort.
Yeah.
But yeah, build a great team. And then actually, if you're managing or supervising correctly, it should be relatively easy because you just need to support that great team.
Yeah, one thing that I often say about that kind of things is your role as a supervisor or as a manager is the job, or in this case the individual shots, but at the same time hello, I think something's happening. Hello guys, can you hear us? Things are okay. I think we're back. One of the glitches of these live shows always happens, right? So as I was saying, one of the things that I always say is, you as a supervisor, you don't have to do any shot, but at the same time you have to do them all, because you have to study in advance. You have to prepare your team for what's coming. You have to avoid pitfalls about what's coming. Okay, let's do this in this other way. So, very important to, and because of that, it's a different type of a job. You're not doing the actual shots. Your responsibilities are different ones. And here's $1 million question for you after all these years. Why in VFX, why VFX keeps falling constantly on the management side of things in terms of scheduling? What's your view in terms of why it's so difficult to get a project running more smoothly or smoothly? That's it. Do you agree that and that's the thing that I alluded before, do you agree that not bringing people or knowledge or experience from other industries plays a role on this? Because we often see people in very upper management positions. They are there. They're there for a reason, obviously. Who am I to say? To say it otherwise? I'm just reading some messages. Yes, people can hear us. That's fine. But it seems like they got there coming from the industry. They didn't come from a different industry with new ideas, with different ways of looking at things. This is my, and we don't see this happening so much on other industries, for example. I think, getting people from different backgrounds, I think, as in any kind of, it's diversity as well, right? Isn't it? And I think the fact that we don't have that, we keep falling into the same kind of problems over and over again, because that's the only way that people learn how to do it. That it's not necessarily the best way how to do things. And even if that's not the problem, it seems like the people, in terms of, at least from my experience, they don't, want to, or they don't search for better ways, necessarily speaking, on how to do the job. Because the job, there's a million things to do every day, and the last thing that you probably want to search for is, let's try a better way next time. Because the next time it's going to be like that as well. You know what I mean? So what's your view on these kind of situations here?
Yeah, it's the $1 million question, isn't it? It's the $1 million question. Yeah, I do think it's interesting to wonder how might it help to bring people in from other industries with other experience. I think, everyone should be open to that. I think there's a lot of validity in that. And the reason I say that is most of the people we see running VFX studios and in the most senior roles have themselves been artists or coordinators. They've worked their way up through the industry, and they now own their own company, or they're in a senior role in a company. And they haven't been trained necessarily in project management or in finance management or in client management even. So, of course...
Uh-oh. You're breaking.
Check can you hear me?
Yes, I think we're back. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
People are used to this, so don't worry. People are used to technical problems on these shows. So.
I was just in case it's my Wi-Fi, but hopefully not.
I don't know where the problem's coming from. All good now, I think.
Yeah, okay, good. So yes, I think it's interesting, it's a very insular industry, isn't it? And I think we could learn a lot from people in other industries, helping. Well, that and training. I think training is a big part of it.
But it seems like companies, they do not invest, they're not interested on investing money on that side of things, in my experience, which I think it's like a bit bonkers, if I may say so, honestly. Because if you don't invest in your people, how can you expect things to be different, right? It's like, it's a bit weird, isn't it?
I agree.
Because this doesn't happen in a lot of other industries. What we do is highly, technical. Of course, it's towards like an artistic outcome, obviously, but it's interestingly technical, right? So there's all these new things to learn. There's new roles that people ascend to, right? And they don't know exactly how to do certain things, which is natural, right? We are always learning. And if you don't invest on being better at that new role, for example, how can you expect that things should be different, right? Or how do you support that person in this new role? Because we all want the success of each other. We all want the business to succeed or the project to succeed. But if you don't invest in people, I mean, I don't have an explanation for this, because we see a lot of training in other industries, technical industries as well, and I don't see, like, they have a budget, like you have, say, and this depends on the company, right? You have like $1,000 or £1,000 or $2K, $3K, it depends, right? It depends also on your seniority or on your role, that can make a difference. But why it's not the case here in FX? I don't really understand that.
I don't really either. I think I agree with you completely. I think there should be investment in people, and that investment is in the form of training, in the form of mentoring, coaching, and even in the form of giving people time to make mistakes and learn, and in the form of actually reviewing, okay, what went well, what didn't go well, what are we going to do differently next time? Like you were saying, there's often not time to try something new, to try a new way, because it's so constantly busy. So I think that investment is partly training, but it's partly just giving a little bit of breathing space for people to learn and try new things. Really difficult. I would love to see that change. I think in terms of project management and asking, why do no projects ever run well? I think what I often do is look at, okay, it's easy to say all the projects are crazy, all the hours are long, but I like to look at the ones that go well. I think
obviously, of course,
to the ones that go well. And I often felt, as a head of department, I was always involved with the problem shows, if we can call them my problem children, and I wasn't involved. Again, it comes back to that: have a great team. I wasn't necessarily involved with the ones that are running well, because it's running well, it doesn't need my involvement. So I think it's important to look at, okay, what is happening there that's making it run well? Of course, a big variable is the client and the work and the schedule, and what was the bid, what is the client's understanding of what we're going to deliver, in what time frame, what quality. But generally speaking, the projects that run really well have very strong producers on.
Yes.
And if the producer is a great producer, you're going to enjoy the experience of being on that show, even if it ends up being quite long hours, because it will still be managed as well as it possibly can be. And it comes back to communication again as well, I think.
Yeah, because people can tell very quickly whether someone is riding this ship or not, right? Or if it's very easy and it's very quick for people to get their understanding. And it's like, kids with no parents, right? They can do whatever, and they feel like that their things are not. Yes, I can maybe come here late, or if I leave, nobody notice. But that's not a good thing, actually, because if that happens on a certain part of the project, that means that probably towards the end or something, it's going to be very painful for everybody, right? So that's not a good thing. It might feel good in the beginning, but that doesn't mean it actually a really big red flag, I would say. But you're right. I think the producing anything. I mean, it's easy for us also to point fingers, right? Very easy. And normally production is always like this kind of situation. Oh, production is not running the project. But that's their job, right? We have our jobs. We have, as managers or as supervisors, we have to also do that kind of situation in terms of like managing and scheduling properly. And because also producers or the producing side of things also expect that input from us, okay? Because of course nobody knows everything, and it's all about as a team. But yes, you're right. I think the producing side of things, a lot of people starting in this industry on that side of things as very juniors without knowing exactly how to tackle a project. And these projects are very big. They tend to be very, very big and very complex. So it's kind of unfair to throw a kid at these kind of situations, but still they have to do their job and they do the best that they can. But because they're not supporting it the way that probably they could be, they grow up with this kind of, over the years, they grow up with this kind of mentality. Okay, this is the way, that people have been doing this. This is the way that I was told how to do this. And then a lot of times, we end up in the situations that we all know, right? Like not scheduling properly, not knowing, incapable of doing projections in terms of crewing or in terms of, what happens if I change this piece of the puzzle? What are the implications? You see what I'm saying? It seems like it's little things, but that can mean a lot for the success and for the, also one thing that I would like to talk about, the mental health of everyone. Because when we're talking about long hours every single minute, every single project, in every single time, and it seems like we all say, okay, next time it's going to be better, and it turns out it's not, and it's the same problems over and over again. Of course, this can amount to this thing that luckily we are now talking, a lot of people are talking about, which is mental health. We've all heard stories, we've witnessed a lot of situations probably in some same company, different situations, whatever, but we all know what we're talking about. And actually there was a report maybe a couple of years ago that I think it said that 90% of people in our industry, post-production, I think that was the case, experienced mental health issues. I mean, this is kind of crazy, right? Yeah. I mean, this is unbelievable. So what's your view on all of this, knowing that you're also involved in this type of discussions and panels? Why do we keep hearing these horrible stories? Why they don't end? And how can we improve as a group in this industry? Another $1 million question, right?
That's a big question.
I know.
I think it's partly recognizing the stress that people can be placed under. So recognizing the workplace environment, is it causing stress? Because if it is, then that needs to be improved. I think for individuals to understand, to recognize their own kind of stress indicators. So to learn to recognize, okay, I'm having headaches, or I'm not sleeping, or this, to me, I know means I'm stressed, and that means I need to take care of myself, and that means I need to manage my hours, or make sure I take do some exercise, take a break, etc. Not to say it's the individual's responsibility at all. I think it's twofold, but I think I think as well, it comes back to what we were talking about you find people are in positions that they haven't really been trained or supported in. They're just kind of promoted, like, yep, you're awesome at what you do, let's give you more responsibility, go. And that causes stress for that person, and then that has a ripple effect, because if they're stressed, that causes stress,
It's a multiplier, right?
It is. So I think there are a lot of, it is a high pressure industry, because it is fast paced, and there's a pressure to deliver to a deadline all the time. So I think it's important to recognize how you can manage that. So what are your boundaries? Like, for each of us as individuals, what are my boundaries? As simple as a compositor, if they're asking me to address notes after hours, how critical is that? Because I think there's a tendency to think you have to stay and do it. But actually, how critical is it, or can it wait till tomorrow? And sometimes
a lot of times what we hear is, yes,
Yeah.
it's usually critical, always, right? And then you say, for example, speaking about motherhood, but I have my kids to pick up. It's like this kind of face, right? It's or even if they say yes, you can go, it's you always feel like I have to be fair here. I never had that experience. Of course, not on the motherhood side. Obviously, I don't have that experience, but I'm a father, so I could have had the experience that, but I didn't. So, but I know that this happens, right? So even if people say yes, okay, if you have to go, you go. It's in a way that people feel bad about themselves, like leaving, and they're more than entitled, and they actually have to leave because you know we can do that kind of effort, or they can do that kind of effort once or twice, but if it's all the time, of course, takes a toll on you, right?
Yeah. I mean, you shouldn't feel bad about it, basically. I mean, I know that sounds simple, but it's interesting, before I had kids, when I was compositing, before I had kids, I worked long hours, and I think I didn't mind too much. It might just be that I don't remember. There was definitely times where I was exhausted, like if I'd worked a lot of long hours. Once I had children and I was then compositing, I had different responsibilities, and therefore I had different boundaries. And I knew if I'm the parent collecting them from nursery, I have to leave at this time. And actually, I came in early. I have done a full day's work, and I have to go. And I'm not going to feel bad about that, because actually my children are more important than this shot. Much as I love my job and I want to do my best job, it doesn't compare. And of course, not everyone has children, so how can everyone reach that kind of same realization that actually,
because they're all entitled still,
exactly,
regardless,
not just
right?
that parents have to leave on time. Everyone should be able to know this is my cutoff, this is my non-negotiable, these are my boundaries to keep me safe and well, and communicate them. And ideally you're working with a team or in a studio where that is supported. But I just think people shouldn't feel bad about it. It's like you've done.
I think it's very, very important, especially coming from you, that people hear you saying these kind of things, because I totally agree with you, and I've been saying this also. I mean, if that's what you have to do, you have to do. That's it. You go. I tend actually as a supervisor to, which is also not a good thing. I admit to that. Which is I'm gonna put the hours, and you in my team leave 6, leave. Of course, there are periods of time in which we have always to, it's all hands on deck, right? And everybody can understand that. But for the great majority, I tend to be like that. And still, some people still want to be there until 3 in the morning. This happened. This is like a true story. I mean, I cannot kick that people physically, right? I mean, I'm telling you, it's not needed. It's not necessary. I need you fresh in the morning rather than staying late all the time. But if you still want to do it, I mean, what can I do about it? And I mean, it's not going to be good for anybody, including yourself, or first of all to yourself. But this can happen. But I think it's very important for people to hear that, because especially people new in the industry or not as experienced, they are very frightened about their being blacklisted, or I'm not going to be called again, because the security of the job, it is what it is, as we all know, right? And people know that and feel that, so they tend to extend their boundaries or not have boundaries at all, and I think that's can be very dangerous, short term, long term, you name it. So very important to hear that from you, Debbie. I think, guys, if you have any questions for Debbie, I can't see any, but if you have any questions for Debbie, this is the time, okay? Because today we are extending our show a bit more. It's the comeback session, so why not? But we have that excuse, right? But if you have questions for Debbie, this is the right time for you to do so, okay? And also, by the way, because we're gonna do, I promise you that we would do a giveaway. Let's see if you want to be entitled for the giveaway, all you have to do is to type the word lucky, lowercase, okay? I think that will put you eligible for that thing. If it's not working, it's not working. We'll do it at another time, okay? But try that. Lucky. So another thing, while people think about what they want to ask you, I want to talk to you about what you do these days as a coach, because a lot of the things that we discussed now, I'm sure that a lot of the conversations that you have with people, without naming names, obviously, or naming like specific situations, a lot of these issues are probably talked about, right, during your sessions.
Yeah. I mean, first and foremost with coaching, it's 100% confidentiality, and I'm never going to speak about anything that any client has spoken with me about. But I tend to work with VFX professionals, not exclusively, but I tend to.
Because people know you from that industry.
Yeah, and I get it. I think people are like, oh, she'll get it. I won't have to explain exactly what we've been talking about the pressure and the expectations and the hours and everything. So so I get it. I don't know, common themes I guess come up around where am I at in my career, like what do I want to do next, how do I move forwards, how do I make myself heard, how do I manage a team, how do I present myself confidently, I'm lacking confidence. But
that's a big one, right? Like the what people normally call the imposter syndrome, right? We all have it. No matter how experienced you are, there will be a point in your time in your life that you'll say, what, I'm not too sure, I don't know how people are seeing me doing that. So that doubt comes into play a lot, right? And that can actually can feel frozen sometimes, right? Like if that's not managed properly, that can be like this big monster that is in front of you with for no reason, because it's all in your head most of the times, right? So that's I'm sure that's a big one that people talk to you about. But how do you so people that are listening, how do you run these sessions? What's your method? Is like workshops, or is like kind of exercises so they can reach their own conclusions about their own doubts or questions that they have?
I mostly do one-to-one coaching, and I'm also doing online group workshops as well. And I would love to be brought into studios to either do one-to-one coaching or group.
It's breaking again.
We lost everyone again.
Yeah, we're back.
We're back?
Yeah,
we're back.
Just a glitch.
Okay.
Just a glitch.
The one-to-one coaching, I have lots of kind of models and understanding of how the brain works that I can draw upon, but I like to design the coaching session and the coaching program per person, because each of us is unique.
We're different.
And it's that's kind of the creative side of being a coach. So where I used to be a compositor and then a manager, now the creative side of my role is, okay, how can I best serve this individual as their coach? So it's quite sort of tailored. And then I'm also noticing those common themes and designing online group workshops. So I've got
You just did one recently, right?
I've got it starts on 21st of June.
Okay. So I watched the announcement.
Yes. I've been announcing it. Starts on 21st of June, and that one is around actually how to find better balance.
So there you go.
That work-life balance.
And what do people have to do in order for them to participate if they wish to?
So you can follow me on LinkedIn or Instagram, and I've got all the details there. So tickets are through Eventbrite.
And your tag is Debra Coleman Coaching, isn't it?
Yes. So on LinkedIn, I'm Debra Coleman, and on Instagram, I'm debra.coleman.coaching. There
you go. I'm pretty sure that's going to be really, really easy to find. If people really, really want to. It's easy to find either of these places. Cool. All right. That's let's see if we have any questions. People are really shy today. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I asked too many questions. That's probably what it is.
We've covered everything, Pedro.
What's that?
Covered everything.
We've covered everything. Actually, there's one from Luis. Actually, Luis is part of class 2 from the program, the next level program. So, question from Luis is: how would you recommend for us midweight artists to go about getting decision makers, senior management, to address the mental health aspect of work? So basically, who do you reach out to? I think.
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, HR are responsible, so your HR team should always be a dependable point of contact. I would also look at who are the decision makers. You know, who basically decides where the company spends its money. So that's probably the COO or the owners, and speaking to them about it and raising awareness. And maybe you can do that through a network. You know, if you don't want to be the lone voice, maybe it's speaking to other people who feel similarly and then presenting that as a group to HR or to the owners and saying, look, we're really concerned about this and we like working here, but we would, you know, we need better support, or what could be done to make things better, really. That would be my suggestion. Cool. I guess, you know, and knowing who's there to support you. So in larger organizations, you might have an artist manager or a head of department. Your comp soups are often feel responsible for their compositors, but they can also feel that it's difficult to influence these things. So I think looking at the management tier really would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I agree. Whether that will take you to the place that you want or not, we don't know, right? Because it depends on the organization. It depends who's listening and what their power to make change. But yeah, you shouldn't be quiet about it. If it's something that is definitely bothering you, definitely talk about it with whoever. Well, I would say my suggestion would be who's your immediate superior, and then from there escalate if that needs to be escalated. But you know, COO, of course, VFX soup not so much because they have a lot on their plates. But yeah, like head of department, you know, that kind of a situation. Yeah, because that's what they. If you happen to have to work on an organization with artist management, of course that should be maybe primary point that you should reach, actually, because that's also their responsibilities, right?
Yeah, it's looking at who is your line manager, because they are responsible for you as an employee. Yeah.
We have another question from Vicky Cole. Do you specialize in working with more senior artists / VFX professionals, or would you also coach people who are in early stages of their career?
I'm open to coaching, you know, anyone who would benefit from coaching. Yes, so I'm always interested in hearing from people. If somebody reaches out and expresses an interest in coaching, I will always book a free chat with them so that I can get to know them a little bit, get to understand why they're considering coaching. Is it actually the right thing for them? Am I the right coach for them? And also talk them through, you know, the process, the fees, the sort of time frame and everything. So I would encourage anyone, get in touch. We can have a chat and take it from there, really.
Cool. Very good answer. And I think that's hugely important to have like initial conversation, because the thing is, you might feel like this is actually something that you need. Okay, fair assumption here, but for some reason you might not connect with the person. Right? It's like going to the doctor, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's a little bit. It's like a silly comparison, maybe, but it's you have to feel the connection, isn't it? Especially when we're talking about career and, you know, and not only career, because it's not only about career choices or doubts or issues. It's also on the personal side of things. So of course the connection, the human connection, has to be there. So that's a very good point. Cool. So I don't think that we have more questions, and we have already 30 minutes in the hour. So I think it's time to wrap up. And guys, I have to say one thing. the bot is not working for some reason, so we cannot do the giveaway. So what I'm gonna do is, because I know some of you, I'm gonna ask Debbie, because Debbie probably don't know the people that typed lucky, to select one of them. Okay, so it's not me. So and I can be biased, but Debbie can't. So if you wanna blame someone, blame Debbie. Okay.
Is this in the chat in Skype?
Yes, in the chat on LinkedIn. Oh, sorry, on YouTube.
YouTube. Okay, hold on. I haven't had that open. Let's see. Okay, I'm looking now.
I'll send you the link.
I've got it.
You got it?
Yeah. So you want me to just pick a name at random?
Just pick a name that one of them that typed lucky.
Okay, I'm going to go for Tor Andreasen.
Cool, Tor, nice one. So Tor, let me put the actual. Yeah, we do this. Just like an applause. Okay, Tor, you won. Tor was one of the first intakers of the program, actually. So good to see you again, Tor. So you're gonna receive another gift, basically. Sorry for the other ones. But this will be exactly the same thing if the bot would pick your name, because Debbie doesn't know any of you personally speaking. I don't think, at least not the ones that picked or typed lucky. So it will be the same thing, not exactly the same thing as we did before, but the bot is not working. What can I do? It's good still, right? So guys, very good to come back. Just gonna thank Debbie again for coming in, and thank you for everything you're doing within the industry, and once again, congratulations on this new endeavor that you're taking now. Takes a lot of courage, so kudos to you, I would say. And for everybody, guys, without a doubt, this is an opportunity. This can be very difficult period of time for a lot of people. I know, depending on the country that you are living in, you can experience very different realities in comparison, for example, to ours, right? But to the best of your ability, try to look at this as an opportunity. To the best of your ability, it might not be possible, I understand that, but this can be, actually one thing that that can change your way of looking at things. Okay, if you can. So once again, everybody, thank you for coming in. This is the comeback of the show. Very excited about it. A lot of people asked for the comeback, so here we are. This time we are able to make this happen with the luxury of a guest to open up. So thank you once again, Debbie. We're gonna see each other again in a couple of weeks. But as I said in the beginning, now you can expect content in terms of tech corners every week. Okay, so big change here. That's my vow. All right. Hope you like it, and bye bye everyone. See you, and stay on, Debbie. Okay, because we're gonna have another chat, just a small one. Okay, bye bye guys. See you.